Some games I have a whole lot of experience with. Like,
Okay, I'm going to start wiring this Playfield. I'll flip it over. First thing I'm going to put on here is the switch harness, but before I put that on there, I'll test fit the hole protector. And when I do put the hole protector on there, I'll make sure that it's a good fit overall. The hole protector on this is a little bit complicated because the whole turbo popper assembly kind of fits over top of that hole. There's Optos. There's a lot of things that can get in the way, so yeah, I got to kind of figure it out, but I think I've got it figured out. All right, here comes the switch harness. I'm going to get that mapped out. Not crazy about the way that they ran these from the factory. It's just a little bit sloppy, a little bit random, but I'll rework it later. I'm just going to put it down as it goes and go from there. I'm going to be replacing all the switches with the hoop style switch. These are a universal switch that come with a bracket where you can just kind of snap it in place. Whether it's a left or a right, you can make it up right on the spot. Seems good in theory, but I think in practice it's not that great, but we'll go over that later. Let me just get everything put down, and then we'll go from there. And there we go. I've got all the switches replaced, and I had to add diodes to that if I didn't already tell you that. I'm not so sure about the brackets that they're attached to, but I'll get into that later. If you look at the jet bumper switches and like the slingshot style switches, you'll see that clear protection on some of the leads. That's to keep the leads from touching one another and shorting. That happens all the time. It also keeps them from breaking very easily, which can also happen, but I'm all good right here. I've got the switch harness in good order. Now I've got the lamp harness that I'm putting down. I got my sunglasses on because sometimes I'm working out and I'm doing this at the same time, and if I'm laying like on a bench or something, the lights will blind me, so I'll do that during the rest period. Not that that matters, but you might be wondering, why in the fuck is this guy wearing sunglasses putting on this lamp harness? That's why. Alright, so I got that kind of mapped out. Moving forward here, I've got the solenoid harness in place now, kind of roughed in place, and I'm working through some of the solenoid assemblies. So some of these have plugs already on them, And those that do, what I'm doing is reworking those plugs. So I'll desolder the plug that's on there. I'll put the short protections in place, which will be the clear tubing over the leads. And then I'll reinstall that plug and give it the strain relief. And basically I'm reworking what they already had there is what it comes down to. Here we go. I got most of the wiring harness in place. There's one more like kind of sub harness still left to put on here. That's going to be the Opto harness. This is a sloppy mess. I'm not crazy about this. This isn't what I would like. So I'll try to rework it from here. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll do each harness one at a time, and I will neatly run each harness one at a time. I have put each harness in place one at a time. Like, yes, I put the switch harness on. Yes, I put the lamp harness on. Yes, I put the solenoid harness on separately, but I haven't tried to reinvent them yet. And the reason I didn't do that yet is because some games I have a whole lot of experience with, like Indiana Jones or Twilight Zone or Adam's Family. I could go on and on and on and on. Indy 500, as I touched on in a previous video, I haven't done it for 20 years. So I gotta kind of see how it lays out, and then I can figure out where the fault lies in it. So what will be a fault in it? Anywhere that the wiring, I feel like, gets too close to a mech that could smash it or pinch it. So that'd be plungers that actuate, or this mech right here. Any of that stuff, I want to make sure I'm far away from that. Another thing I don't like is wires that are being pulled really tight. Like, maybe I think, oh, I should gather this up and run it this way, but I just can't quite get there. There's just not quite enough wire. So then that would need to be extended. And then sometimes there's just sloppiness. Like the way they daisy chain all these GI wires together. This is the brown and white and the brown GI run, and it starts off that way, and then all over the place you got all these little yellow jumper wires. Okay, cool, I get it, that's not too hard to figure out, but the problem with those yellow jumper wires is they're going to fucking break. They are going to break at some point. They are as fragile as doll hair. They are shit. And so I want to get rid of those, and we'll see what that means. Let's do it. Okay, in order to do it this way, it's a little bit of like a game of operation where you got to be really careful with the soldering iron, and you're trying to get in there. And I'm trying to basically desolder all those yellow jumper wires. And I got new sockets if I need them. It's not a big deal. But first things first, I'm just going to kind of take all those jumpers off, and then I'll see if I need to put a new socket here or whatever I got to do. I'll do it. But that's what I'm doing. And I would normally get out ahead of this and do it when I'm putting the wiring harness down initially without all the other harnesses in place. But the reason I couldn't or didn't on this is I'm just not familiar enough with the game. I got to kind of see how it all lays out, and then I can figure out how I want to lay mine out. And what you're seeing now is I'm replacing all those generic yellow daisy chains with color correct wire. So that was the orange and white strand, and this is the brown and white strand that I was talking about in the talking segment before. And you can kind of see like that's where it feeds into there, and then all those are the jumpers. And this will be an example of some more that I need to do. So then I'll be getting into what I call the yellow and white strand, and that goes a good ways down. And here's an example of a section of that I've already done coming up right now over here. So that's what it looks like when it gets done. It has the strain relief, it's color correct, it's nice durable wire that's not going to break easily, and that's my goal. I could not tell you how many times I've seen those wires break off of there at some point. Good, happy. All right, another thing that I'm dealing with are all these flashers. The wires are kind of tight, but if you're not careful, the two leads will touch together. So what I'm going to do is put clear tubing on each one of these two leads. That way if it gets pulled, pinched, or otherwise, it won't short together. And it's little things like that will be absolute nightmares if you don't know what to look for later. So that's what I'm doing right here. Just basically sliding clear tubing over all the leads and resoldering them on there. If for some reason they run short, then I would extend it, but I think everything ran pretty easily on this particular section, so shouldn't be a problem. Here's a little more in-depth look at some of this GI rework. So I'm going to pull some of this 18 gauge wire out of here. Anytime that you need to try to land two 18 gauge wires on a single lamp socket lug, it's ugly. It's unnecessary at this point. With LEDs and everything we're using, we don't really need that. So I'm going to replace one of those wires with 20 gauge wire, and that'll make it a lot cleaner moving forward. So once it starts heading towards the front, towards where all of them kind of daisy chain together near the slingshots, I'll have a much better run of wire that I can really work with and thread through the sockets, kind of like I'm threading a needle. Right now I'm working that into the original harness, and then when it goes this way right here where I'm showing you, then when I get over here, I'll be able to, like I was basically saying, just kind of thread this through there like you're threading a needle. I'll strip a little section of it, I'll thread it through the socket, and I'll pull it on through, and then that way I can get a nice neat run of wiring where it really counts, because this is what's going to be most eye level when the playfield is lifted and resting up against the back box. This is the section that you really want to look its best. Okay, I got everything soldered in place, just doing the strain relief and zip tying everything up nice and neat, and there it is. So I have shown several examples of that, but it's kind of important. I mean, it's important to me, so maybe if it's important to me, it's interesting to you. But there it is. I can pick up the whole playfield with it, so it's good. And I think that's pretty good. So that's just kind of like the example of it in good detail. Okay, I'm going to rewire all the Optos under the playfield. I think it's only got two. I'm using color correct wire. I'm extending it, and I'll run that through shrink tube and give it a little bit better protection. These are just about as fragile as the daisy chains, and so most of this stuff's hanging on by a thread, so I'm looking to make sure I'm not going to have wires breaking later. And that's pretty much why I do what I do. Plus, I want to give myself plenty of real estate in that harness to run things neatly. I don't like to pull and tug wires. I want them to have lots of real estate. And there we go. So, repin the connector, and I think this thing's ready to go. Plug it in, color correct, and I think that's it. Yeah, that's good. I'm making good progress on this solenoid harness, so I'm sliding clear tubing on all the wires for the flippers, and that'll just kind of give me a little bit of added protection later on. What that's good for more than anything is to make it where if you're fishing around in there, you won't get shocked easily. And the red goes to the banded side, the yellow goes to the center lug, and the orange goes to the non-banded side. Slide the tubing over there, and everything's good. You can wrench around in there a little bit more without worrying about getting shocked or shorting anything. time to bring some order to this harness. So I put all those provisions in place. I extended this, I did that, I've done all these things along the way that you watch me do. Now I can zip tie the shit out of this thing without worrying about breaking a wire, pulling something off, bending this, doing that. And you're not going to be able to do this if you don't do those things that you see me do beforehand. And that's why a lot of people don't get this. It's like, how's that harness so neat? It's because there's a lot of extra work put into it to where you can run it neat. There's my little zip tie porcupine. And it looks good. I feel really good about that because I know how sloppy this thing was when I tore it down. And so that's like a whole nother world right there. Now I'll run over it with my little zip tie gun and just basically that's cutting all the zip ties, but it's also cranking them down pretty tight along the way. There it is. That's good. Okay, this harness doesn't really need these, but now I can put these in place. These are the wire clamp holders, I'll call them. And so I've got to locate these in each one of the factory locations because it's already got a hole for it and kind of like an indentation. But one thing I can do differently is I can pick the size of cable clamp that I want to use. So that's what I'll do. And I'll put these all in place, and they're really just there for looks at this point because that harness would sit the way it sits without them from the zip tying process. But there it is. Here comes the last one, and with that in place, now I can burn this Playfield. So you'll see that coming up now. The burning of the Playfield isn't a cosmetic thing. It's not really a brag or anything like that. It's more just to document that I actually did this game and there's no denying it. I mean, you can't fake that thing. It's not a sticker. And they all burn a little bit different. Some of them look nicer than others, but just the fact that they're burnt, that's what's important to me. And there it is. Now I'm going to put the Playfield slides in place. Get those anchored down real quick. And now I'm going to grease them. The greasing them is really important. You want those things to glide. You don't want them to have any friction whatsoever. So grease them really well right here on the actual slide itself, and also the pivots. That's going to help it glide a lot smoother because we don't want this thing gouging up the inside of the cabinet like it was before. All right, now I'm going to put the resting brackets in place. Those look like some originals that I've had plated somewhere along the way. I've got a variety of them. Sometimes they're brand new stainless, sometimes they're, replated originals, whatever it is, but that's what that looks like. Get those screwed down, and we'll see what's next. All right, I'm going to pull a longer run of this corrugated tubing. That'll give better protection. I got plenty of this stuff. As you can see, that box is full of it. And what I aim to do here is just to make it where the wires don't get easily caught on the speaker studs. You'll see that all the time, and they'll get broken or chafed. So that's what I'm doing, just giving it a little bit better protection. And after I get that in order, I should be ready to put this into the cabinet. Little protection for the sides of the cabinet because I'm going to put this in here myself. If it's a really heavy Playfield, I'll get somebody to give me a hand, but this is pretty light. And there we go. Slide it right in place. Engage it. And I'm all set. Now I'll plug everything in. Gonna place the feature lamp LED OCD in place now. I like to do that after everything else is already kind of run behind there. Now here come the ribbon cables. You got to be really careful. I can't tell you how often I see people just get these a pin or a row off and think it's the end of the world, like the game's totally fucked. It's just like, dude, you got to reseat that ribbon cable. And so pretty simple. And then here we go. I'll put that rebuilt speaker panel in there. Struggling to get the power cord in there. That's why you see me shaking my head. I keep forgetting it's turned the other way, is sideways. But here we go. I think I'm just double checking to make sure everything's pushed in place and everything's good. Always want to double check all your connections. And here we go. I don't know what's going to happen. Could be anything. And there it is. It powers right on up, so that's good. Factory settings restored, of course, because it hadn't had any batteries in it for a bit. And I'll run it through some checks. I'll check the switch harness and the lamp harness first. I'll probably wait to check the solenoid harness. I'll go over that maybe in the outro, but you know, this thing's powered up and it's looking pretty good. Switches are activating. And next thing I'll do is check all the lamps. Put it in the all lamp test. I think I got maybe one lamp right there. Just one lamp not working, and that's actually on a circuit board, so probably got to twist it or maybe change the socket it's in. Could be any of those things, but I'll fuss around with it for a minute, get it to work. It's good. And there we have it. Looks good. All the lamps work. Whatever's next is what's next, but I'm going to leave it there as far as the build goes, and I'll catch you in the outro. There we go. Got our Indy 500 up and running. That was pretty easy on the back end. Now, one thing that I ran into, well, a couple things. Let me go over them. I don't know how the video goes because I usually, by the time I'm doing this, I haven't quite put it together yet. But, you know, first things first, I started replacing all the switches, and I have these plastic body universal switches. And I've never used them before. This was the first time. They appealed to me on the Pinball Life website because it's like I didn't have to order a left or a right. I could just order it, and then it didn't matter if it was a left or a right. I just put it together if I needed it to be a left or a right. Sounds great in theory. Problem I ran into with it though is they pull out of that retainer too easily. So kind of had it all mapped out, had them on there with that, and then I was like, yeah, nah, that's not gonna work for me. Put the metal brackets on there. Still got the switches. Switches were great. Switches are good. Got the little hoops on them, perfect. But the retainers, that was a bust of my eyes. I can't see myself using those in particular. So that was one thing. And then I had just put the whole thing together. I was like, this person has certain expectations for just this one. He's got a little higher expectations for the next one, and even higher for the next one. So I don't need to go in here and go crazy with the wiring, and I'll put it back like it was, and you know, I'll wow him later on 2 and 3. And so that's what I thought. And then after I got it all kind of mapped out, and I was like, yeah, nah, I can't fucking stand it. I'm gonna have to rewire all this GI. So there goes a whole nother day. That's a day that I didn't have to put into it, but I just did because it's going to fucking drive me nuts when I look at it. Every time I'm gonna look at it, I'm like, you should have rewired the GI. And that daisy chain GI shit they do is so fragile. Just the act of me getting in there to do it, I was breaking that shit. So it just told me, you know, you're living on borrowed time with those paper thin jumper wires everywhere. Those things suck. So redid all that stuff, and that looks good. Got it buttoned up, ran everything nice and tight and neat, get it in there, power it up, ran it through the switch test and the lamp test. Didn't run it through the solenoid test yet because what I want to do is put the flipper bats in there and make sure the playfield goes up and down like I want it and all those things, and then I'll put the high power to it. And that's really just because when they don't have the flipper bats in them, sometimes those flipper prawls can be hanging around down under there. They could touch something you don't want to touch, or create a short, or pop a fuse, or melt a transistor. So no power to that thing, no high power to it without the flipper bats in there. Why aren't the flipper bats in there, you might wonder. Well, I don't know what color I'm going to use on there yet. I'll figure that out. And in the next video, we'll get into the ramps, going over the ramps, getting those flame torch, getting all that stuff ready. Got a new plastic set for it to build up. Doesn't look too complicated. And just whatever it takes to finish it. And then I'll get into what's next. What's next will be that Stargate. I got to get that going. A lot of times people don't understand why I don't have like a whole row of pins set up and a bunch of them torn down and all. It seems like that'd be more productive, but it's not in my experience. When I first started doing this, and for many years after that, and for a long time, I did it that way. I'd set up 5 or 6, games, and I'd tell all these people to send me my tear down money, is what I call it, and it seemed great. I always had money, and I always had something going, but it got to a point where it's just overwhelming. You see the same shit just sitting around in the background. Nothing's really moving, or you'll still focus on one thing and nothing else will get done. And at the end of the day, I realized it's like, okay, it's just me. This is one piece of equipment. It doesn't matter where you move that piece of equipment. That's the only place that piece of equipment will be. So why complicate it? Why stress yourself out? Why have all that going on? So that's why I focus on one thing at a time. That's what I do. And it works good. I like it a lot better. All right, so if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, you're not going to like any video I make. Don't ever come back here again. That's what I would tell you.